Hi, I'm Bob Myers, SVP of Product here at Interop.io, and today I'm going to talk to you about how AI builds on the power of io.Connect. Specifically, I'm going to walk you through a demo of the Interop MCP Server and what it enables, but before I do that, I wanted to do some very quick scene setting. So in 2025, the Interop team spent quite a bit of time researching and implementing various AI technologies and techniques. Specifically, we were focused on real-world scenarios. We actually did an internal hackathon that was AI heavy in terms of the projects in Q1 of 2025. And that really jump-started a lot of our learnings that we're able to bring to you today. And of course, we had many conversations with clients to gauge interest and align and learn together about how to deploy AI into the enterprise. There were some key learnings so far this year that I think are worth sharing. The first one is that the approach that resonates with us is something called human-centered AI. Really, this focuses on bringing AI into your existing apps and processes as a first step. We believe that when AI acts as a helper to a human, the supervised nature of the engagement is likely to accelerate adoption at our client firms. And so really kind of keeping the human in the driver's seat, but having AI as an assistant. And then let's talk about the technology that actually makes this possible. Model Context Protocol, or MCP, is basically the standard that we were all waiting on to arrive to unlock the potential of the io.Connect platform, your applications, and AI working safely and efficiently together. This is an open source standard from the company Interop, who are the makers of the popular Claude UI and associated LLMs. It's seen rapid adoption as the standard for connecting tools to AI systems, and it has the benefit of being vendor-agnostic, which really supports something that we care about, which is building once and deploying anywhere. So how do we bring AI to the interoperable desktop? So with io.Connect and a set of Interop-enabled applications, our new MCP server introduces AI into your environment through a governed, context-rich, and user-centered interoperability layer. There's no need to break or rebuild processes or applications. And in today's demo, I think you'll be impressed at how capable some of the off-the-shelf AI systems combined with your tools really are. And last but not least, we wanted to have an official MCP server to allow you to spend your time iterating, experimenting, and let us handle the build out of a particular piece of technology. So what are we going to be demoing today? On the Interop side, we're going to be looking at our official Interop.io MCP server. We'll be looking at some io.Connect capabilities like app launching and custom methods. We've also highlighted some of our IO adapters, specifically PowerPoint and Outlook adapters. And then we'll show you some apps, and today think of these as your apps, or these are a proxy for your apps in your ecosystem. On the AI side, these are for example purposes only. We're using Claude Desktop as our AI chat UI, acting as the MCP client, and it's using Claude Sonnet 3.7 as the LLM. As we mentioned, the MCP Standard will actually allow you to mix and match or pick your own AI systems to use, but in this case, these are the ones that we've been leveraging and are comfortable with. So you're going to see a dynamic workflow, where as a user, I'm using AI and Interop and my applications to execute my decisions and to do my job. So let's go ahead and dive in. So for today's demo, we're going to do a little bit of role playing. The persona I'm going to take on is that of a wealth advisor serving high net worth individuals. And let's say I start my workday and I receive a message from a client. Hey, Bob, I'm seeing a lot of noise and volatility in the market. I'm sensitive to some of the headline risks that might be impacting my holdings. Specifically, what is my exposure to Tesla? Can you also send me an updated report with my portfolio details? Thanks, Alice Johnson. So pretty straightforward request. And today, my firm is invested in Interop. So I have a desktop with connected applications. I can use these applications to resolve Alice's request. It's how I do the job today. And honestly, it's working pretty well. However, my company has agreed to allow advisors to use AI as a helper. They picked Claude in this case, and they've made our existing applications available to Claude via the Interop MCP server. this client request seems like a good chance to see how my AI helper performs. So let's see this in action. So let's start with the human-driven desktop in its current state. And with Interop, I have to say it's pretty powerful. So I've got my io.Connect launchpad available to me. That's the floating bar. Inside of io.Connect, I've got a variety of different capabilities. I've got some purpose-built point solutions that allow me to launch applications and take a look, for example, at a client's list of holdings, filter to a particular instrument, and see information, say, about their exposure. I've also got the ability to create powerful layouts that connect or glue together different applications into a workflow. So in this case, I've got a client list application with client contact information. I've got a portfolio holdings view that filters to client, and then I've got a charting application. I've also got click button experiences like sending an email with a summary of a portfolio to a particular contact. So pretty powerful capabilities out of the box. In addition, I have the ability to leverage some of the io.Connect adapters, which are really powerful. So for example, I've got our PowerPoint adapter, which allows me to send content to templates with graphs and charts and disclaimers, really nicely formatted, client-ready presentations. And last but not least, I also have the io.Connect Outlook adapter to be able to send emails. And believe it or not, this workflow can be made more capable and efficient with AI. So let's take a look at what that looks like in Claude. So just like delegating to a human, I need to outline my request. In this case, I'm going to ask Claude to act as my research associate, to only give me factual information from internal applications, and to stop if it has any issues performing the tasks, and I'll provide additional instructions. In the text below, Claude is just confirming that it understands and that it's ready to take on that task for me. So let's take a look at the actual MCP tools that we've made available through the Interop MCP servers. So the tools are defined here in sort of a natural language process. Here's the catalog of tools that are available. And just taking a look at this, I see that I can get client information, I can open apps, I can extract data, I can generate reports, and I can send emails. So this looks like the AI system, in this case Claude, will have the tools that it needs to execute my request. And so this is all being made available through the Interop MCP server. So this looks good. So let's go ahead and provide some more directions. In this case, I'm just basically going to go ahead and copy in the direct request that I received from Alice Johnson with a few additional instructions. In this case, I'm really just going to make sure that I have a chance to review any of the work product that Claude creates. In this case, it's going to be a PowerPoint presentation, just to make sure that I review it before we put that into an email, for example. So with that prompt and the instructions, and the example from Alice Johnson, Claude is off to the races here. What we're seeing is Claude pulling those MCP tools, so get client list, opening application, so it's found Alice Johnson, it's opening up PowerPoint because it knows that it needs to create a presentation. It's generating an exposure report for Alice Johnson so that we can answer the questions specifically around our Tesla holdings. It's working through any kind of initial issues it has, filtering reports. And then it's giving me a readout of the information that it retrieved from those existing applications and data sets in your ecosystem. It's now creating and saving an exposure report, adding a little bit of market color here to answer some of the questions from Alice Johnson around volatility. And then it's giving me a readout again of what's happening in the narrative. But most importantly, it's generated this PowerPoint presentation, and it's giving me an opportunity to go ahead and review that, which I'll do before I provide additional instructions. All right, so here we have the io.Connect PowerPoint adapter. We've got this filtered for our client, Alice Johnson. The data here is specific to her portfolio and specifically to her Tesla holdings. Looks nicely formatted. We can see the Tesla information here, and we've got our disclaimer, which is required before we send any information to our clients. So I'm going to let Claude know that this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and draft an email to Alice. Great. So Claude is working through that request, taking a look at the tools that are available to it. And this pattern is going to start to become pretty familiar. So it found the send email tool. It's doing what large language models do very well, which is generating text and content for that email, writing out the information to Alice, directly answering her request and highlighting her portfolio. And that's actually drafted and available. So let me go ahead and open that and review it before we send it. So we've got the contact information, we've got a nicely formatted and written email that's directly responding to her questions around market volatility and her Tesla exposure, highlights from her portfolio, some market context that Claude was able to retrieve as well. It's coming from me, and we've got our nicely formatted presentation attached. So this is looking pretty good, but usually I like to make sure that my clients, if we're going to give them market context or news, that we actually provide explicit links to that content. So I'm just going to go ahead and refine this email with my AI helper here through an additional prompt and ask for some news, but with some links as well. And let's focus in this case on Q1 Tesla earnings, and we'll update the email accordingly. So in this case, I'm just using sort of an internet search through Claude, but you could think about this as being either your firm's proprietary research or a separate MCP server to a specific third-party source that provides research or news. My AI helper has found these articles and is now rewriting the email to not only include the content, but links to those particular news articles as well. Getting a nice readout here. One of the nice things about my AI helper is that it's keeping me up to speed on everything that's going on, and it's redrafted the email. So let's take a look. So same content as before, with information on the portfolio. And then down below, we've got some actual articles for Alice to read that'll give her some more information around Tesla's Q1 earnings specifically. And now I want to personalize this. Believe it or not, I actually have some information that Claude doesn't. I actually met Alice Johnson at a client appreciation event last month and had a good conversation with her around her family. So I want to make sure that that's included here in this sort of personalized outreach before I send it out. And I'll make sure I ask about Alice's children, Sam and Sarah, and make sure that they're doing well. Just a nice personal touch as an advisor here. Perfect. So now I've got good content, I've got good context for Alice. I've answered her question. She's got a presentation. I actually have an offer here to reach out for an additional conversation. I'm going to go ahead and send that. This is where it gets really powerful. That didn't take that long. So now I'm going to innovate and scale. And by that, I mean, I'm going to batch through all of my clients that might have Tesla. So I'll ask Claude to do that. It's going to take a look through the tools, the clients, their portfolios, and find that only the clients that have Tesla. And then it's essentially going to do the same analysis that we just performed for Alice Johnson, but at scale and batching through all my clients. What we're seeing on the screen is that process happening. We're producing exposure reports. We're checking each client's portfolio. And one of the neat things here is that we're not going to duplicate work. We already did Alice Johnson's portfolio, so my helper is going to skip that. And the other nice thing is that I'm going to get information about clients where this request isn't relevant to them. So Bob Brown doesn't have any Tesla holdings, so we're going to exclude him from sending an email about Tesla positions, news, and market context. So this is really powerful. I went from doing one client inquiry and responding to it to really being proactive and reaching out to all of my clients. And the AI helper is really allowing me to scale my workflow. So what's happening in the background now is all these reports are generated, the emails are being teed up as well. So let's go ahead and start looking at some of the work product so we can get ready to send this out to all of our clients. Great. So now we can see this isn't for Alice Johnson. This is for John Doe, John's specific portfolio, his holdings, a nicely formatted report, the same news with links that we requested before. Here's one for Charlie Davis, the same type of report out and email. So as you can see, this is really powerful. I'm getting through quite a bit of work here, working with my AI helper. I'm getting the readout of what's happened here, an update that all this information has been created. I can now review that and send that out to all my clients. So just last example here, all the actual presentations that are attached are updated for the clients with their particular holdings and Tesla positions and the formatted disclaimer, for example. So at this point, I think we're done. We accomplished a lot of work in 7 minutes. I emailed all my clients that have Tesla proactive outreach. So let me tell Claude that was a great job, and we're done with the task. And of course, Claude is a smart AI, so acknowledges that it couldn't have done this without Interop.io providing with access to the right tools through the MCP server. So cool demo, really highlighting the possibilities of the Interop MCP server with your applications and existing tools.